first story is titled, Am I the a-hole for refusing to let my sister move in with me? I, male 39, lost my son James 2 years ago. He was only 9 years old and he suffered from leukemia. It was the most devastating loss I've ever experienced. He was my everything, and seeing his health decline was very terrifying. I hoped and prayed that he'd get better, even kept asking why and wished this nightmare never happened. He passed away in my arms, and I remember this vividly. He slept for a few hours and passed away at home. I suffered a lot during the first few months after his death. My ex-wife made it worse by dragging me to court dates and doubling down on my pain and misery. She thought she was making me pay for my own son's death, making it seem like I had something to do with it. She made it worse and was able to get my family on her side. She took away precious stuff that belonged to my son and made it worse. Funny, she was able to move on real quick. Got married and had a baby in a short time period. My sister, who always been mean to me, has contact with her. They're close. My sister would constantly bring my ex up and everything that happens in her life to spite me, telling me to do the same and move on, get married and have children, knowing how upset that made me. My sister also helped my ex get extra stuff for my son's belongings without telling me. She made remarks saying she'd name her new baby after my son, to make it feel like my son never really left, and so that there's still a James in the family. Like my son could be replaced. My nephew James is 7 months old, and I never approved of her to honor my son like this. She was being disrespectful of my son's memory, and I ended up not talking to her for some time. Last week, my mom called me to tell me that my sister had a big fight with her husband and moved out, and was planning on starting divorce procedures. She asked if I could take her in for a while, till she solves her issues. By the way, I have 2-bedroom apartment and is very small. If I let my sister move in, that means she'll take my son's room. And I wasn't feeling like I should let her in after what she did, frankly. My mom didn't like my response, and started talking about how my sister was supportive of me during rough times and that I needed to return the favor. Told me to stop being bitter because she took my son's name. I asked her to tell my brother to help, but she said that he said sorry but he has no room. I was getting tired of arguing with my mom, who kept insisting to let my sister move in, but I refused and turned my phone off, which then resulted in more pressure by both parents. Now for the top comments. Blocked a whole lot of them. That's not your family, you just grew up with them, not the a-hole. I second this. Who the hell in their right mind sides with the ex-wife in this situation? F those people. You don't owe them anything. Not the a-hole. Your family sided against you with your ex-wife, especially your sister. She did not support you. You have no obligation to help her now. Your family sided against you with your ex-wife. For this reason, you should tell them that they should ask the ex to take her in. You're not the a-hole. This is your home. Even leaving out everything else, you are not obligated to let them stay with you. Tell your family you'll be happy to speak with them once they drop the issue. I'm so sorry for your loss. I've already spoke to my mom and told her how much this upsets me, but she keeps claiming I'm being negative and unsupportive of those who supported me during rough times. Part of me believes strongly that my sister saw my grief as something to take advantage of, and she too made it worse. And honestly, I have no idea why I allowed her to go that far. I guess I wasn't capable of confronting her and anyone else who kept making hurtful comments and didn't understand how hurt I was. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for not kicking out my nephew to let my sister move in? I, 35 male, own my house. The layout of the house is important. The basement is a mother-in-law suite, a medium bedroom, a living area, and a small kitchenette along with its own full bathroom. It has its own entrance. The first floor is the kitchen, dining room, and a great room, powder room, and a mud room connecting to the garage. The upstairs is the master bedroom with a master bath and massive walk-in closet. There are 2 more bedrooms along with a bathroom and a laundry area. One of the bedrooms upstairs I have turned into my office. I am currently working from home full-time. In April, my nephew Alec, male 20, came home from college because of current events. Alec is the oldest of 6 kids, and my sister, female 37, has a bad habit of making him take care of his younger, male 10, female 8, male 6, female 3, siblings. He reached out to me and I let him move into the mother-in-law suite. He has been living with me since then and we have had no issues. He does not pay rent, nor do I want him to. A couple of weeks ago, my youngest sister, 29 female, came over. She and her husband are having financial problems since her husband lost his job. She has 2 children, 6 male, 4 female. She asked if they could move in with me for a while. I told her that I didn't think it would work because I only have 1 empty bedroom and I don't think that 4 people would fit very well. She said that she figured she and her family would move into the mother-in-law suite in the basement. I told her no, that was my nephew's area. Well, she started throwing a fit about that, about how she needed room and he didn't. I didn't budge. I knew what was coming next, so I spoke with Alec, telling him what his aunt asked and telling him it was his decision whether or not to give up his space. Sure enough, she went to talk to him and he told her he didn't want to move upstairs. She started ranting about what an entitled a-hole he was and more. I should say that my youngest sister, let us call her Anne, has always been jealous of Alec. His mom was just 17 when she had him, so of course she was still living at home. Anne was the baby of the family until he was born. She was jealous of him since the day he was born. After she calmed down, she said fine, they would take my bedroom, using the walk-in closet as a bedroom for the kids. I said no to that, and also to giving up my office. Well, she started ranting about how I never helped her, and basically just yelling at me. I told her that I was not throwing Alec out of what we both think of as his space for her. Anne stormed out and started complaining to our family. My oldest sister, Alec's mom, thinks that Alec should move back with her and Anne should get the mother-in-law suite. My mom agrees with her. I told them all that they don't get to vote on what happens with my house. Now, they're all saying that Alec and I are both a-holes for not helping Anne. I think they are ridiculous, but I thought I would post here for outside opinions. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. It's your house, and so you can do whatever you like with it. It's not your fault for your younger sister's problems, and she's not entitled to anything of yours. Why doesn't she stay with your parents? Why does it have to be you and not anyone else? Or even her husband's family? My mom does 2 empty bedrooms currently, but Anne and my mom have a difficult relationship. However, I agree that living with my mom would be a possibility. Not the a-hole. Your house, your choice. It's as simple as that. Would it be nice of you to shake up Alec and your lives to let her family move in? Of course. It's also super nice of you to let Alec live there in the first place. You are not the family hotel. And your choice to be one doesn't make you an a-hole at all. It's quite literally none of your mom or sister's business what you choose to do with your home. Even Alec is only there by your choice. None of them have any innate right to your space. Anne and Alec do not get along. Anne has been jealous of Alec since he was born, and she's shown it. Alec knows how she feels and doesn't care for her either. My guess, and I haven't asked him, is that if it had been someone else besides Anne, he might have decided to move upstairs. The next story is titled, Would I be the a-hole for refusing to bow to emotional blackmail? In order to maintain sanity, my wife and I have eliminated contact with our sister for the past few years. There has been bad blood between her and my wife for years, which spilled over to me when I lost my job and we decided jointly that I should be a stay-at-home dad until our children started high school. They started school and I went back to work full-time. There were several comments made, with alcohol involved, on my masculinity and lack of work ethic, which escalated one gathering with my mother-in-law and sister-in-law shouting at my wife, my kids in tears, and me saying I've had enough and I left and sat in the car. My family came out a few minutes later. Later, mother-in-law and sister-in-law decided the argument was my fault and that I should apologize to everyone there. I refused, and since then, it has been a constant barrage of tears and emotional blackmail from my mother-in-law on how I'm tearing the family apart. I have never said my wife and kids cannot attend family events with a sister-in-law. I just chose not to do so. To be fair, I'm not a saint and have made a few snide comments of my own, but they have always been in response to digs. So this year, mother-in-law issued an ultimatum. Either all of us, myself included, attend her family Christmas gathering, or my wife and kids are not invited. This is common of the emotional blackmail that's been played over the course of our marriage. My wife has always asked me to be the better person for the sake of our kids, but I'm really over it. So, if I refuse to attend, and thus ensure my wife and kids are not welcome, am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. My therapist said something really meaningful to me. She told me a story about how her son threatened to hold his children against her, and how he was going to make it so she wouldn't be allowed to see them. She said the very first time it happened, she decided not to let it go any further and told him without hesitation, "Okay, that's fine. I won't see your children. I'm not going to let you dangle my own grandkids over my head. If you're going to treat my grandchildren like pawns, then I don't want any part in it." That's the first thing. Ultimatums like that are ridiculous, and it's clear that no one is going to be happy. Secondly, sometimes being the better person is not always truly being the better person. Do you want your kids in an environment like that? What if another fight breaks out at a tense family dinner? It's better for your own mental wellness, but most importantly, your kids' mental wellness, to just discontinue contact with them altogether, not just for Christmas dinners. If they aren't completely awful, maybe they will realize that using families and real people as pawns wasn't a great idea. If they don't realize that, well then, you're better off. Capitulating also models for their children that should accept mistreatments. Not the a-hole. Call her bluff. You should all stay home and have your own family Christmas. Start your own traditions. Tell your wife that you will not be bullied and manipulated by her family anymore. Tell her the price is too high. If they are going to punish their own daughter/sister because they like to control everyone, so be it. Your wife needs to learn to stand up to her family. They get away with their bullshit because everyone gives in to them. And is she going to kick out her daughter and grandkids on Christmas? That's a bigger tell than anything. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for telling my sister to reimburse me for one half the cost of my wedding from 10 years ago? My younger sister got engaged a couple months before COVID. Neither of us are close with our parents, and we are the only siblings. I am 7 years older and more established in my career. My sister and her fiancé struggle financially, which is to be expected as they are just starting out. I am not rich by any means, but have always done my best to help them when I can. Groceries, rent, etc. Because I know that they would never get any help from our parents. When they announced their engagement, pre-COVID, I was happy for them and offered to help them with some of the wedding costs and throwing a bridal shower. Then COVID hit, and all plans came to a grinding halt. My sister is incredibly impatient and doesn't think before she acts. She is asked about the bridal shower numerous times. I told her that we could not do this right now due to the pandemic, and also that my financial situation has changed and I would not be comfortable spending this money until my work hours were back to normal. I also have bills and kids that need to come first. She got angry that I was unsupportive just like our parents, which pisses me off immensely as I have done a lot for her, and decided to elope at City Hall a couple weeks ago. They didn't bother to tell anyone and just made a rude and dramatic post about it on Facebook. Not that anyone cares, but we got married today blah blah blah, and then went on to berate individual family members in the comments. No surprise that she ruffled quite a few feathers with this crap. She is not the first family member to elope, so the eloping wasn't the issue. I got a message from her earlier asking me about when we were having the bridal shower. I told her that we weren't, and that bridal showers are for before weddings. No one would go now anyways. She got upset again and made a comment about how she had not received any wedding gifts yet either. I told her that she likely wouldn't be getting anything, as not only is it not customary to send a gift when someone elopes, but she's acting like an entitled jerk. She panicked. I guess she had been banking on these gifts, and then suggested that since I received over $6,000 worth of gifts 10 years ago, I should have to give her one half, and also still give her the money I was going to for the wedding, and that she had quit her job after the wedding because she thought she was getting this money. Here's where I might be the a-hole. I lost my temper with her entitled crap. I refused to give her any more money. In my opinion, she should not have quit her job. I also told her that I'd write her a check for one half the gift as soon as she paid one half the cost of my $40,000 wedding. Now, she's whining on Facebook about how I'm petty, and now she can't afford her rent. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. It's time your sister grew up and learned that there's no such thing as free money. Exactly. I seriously wonder what kind of upbringing she had to think that getting married means free money. The entitlement here isn't real. She needs to grow up and learn how the real world works. I honestly think she is just incredibly immature. She's 20, but acts much younger than she is. Not the a-hole who quits their job during a pandemic on the hopes that they will be gifted with money that absolutely nobody has promised them. What the actual F? I am speechless. I agree 100%. I know that she hated this job. It's her first job ever. I told her to start looking for another one before quitting. She doesn't think before she does things. Not the a-hole. Your sister sounds like you've spoiled the crap out of her, and now she's become too expectant on your money. Only thing I would say is that some brides can have events after an elopement. My best friend eloped this year because of COVID, and we're still going to have a full wedding for her next year. Yes, we've had other family members who had eloped and then had a get-together after. However, they didn't announce it to everyone on Facebook for shock value, and then go off on a rant insulting everyone who refused to ignore COVID in the comments. And that's the end of this video, folks. As always, leave a comment and hit like and subscribe. And if you want more of this content, turn your notification on to get updated on the latest videos. And I'll catch you with the next one. Stay safe. Am I the a-hole for still getting on a flight home when my two young co-workers I was traveling with weren't at the airport yet and were obviously going to miss it? Plus updates. Original post. This past week, I was presented with an industry award in Nashville that an agency partner nominated me for. I am a director at my company. My company decided to send 2 junior-level employees to the event as well because they thought it would be a good experience for them. A specialist who has been with us a little over a year, 25 female, fresh out of college, and a summer intern, 21 female, a rising senior. They are not on my team, report up through a separate VP, and I have very limited or no interaction with them in daily work life. They were very excited to be going. This was going to be the specialist's first time on a plane, with lots of Teams chats asking what to wear, etc. We were flying in Thursday morning and leaving Friday evening, so it was a very short trip, but I tried to help share info about the event, types of attendees, awards reception or presentation Thursday night with a country western theme. Then I was speaking on a panel Friday morning. There's so much I could say, but I'll try to highlight key points. The specialist barely made the Thursday morning flight because she doesn't have a real ID and had to do extra screening. She had no idea what a real ID was or the basic rules of flying, liquid restrictions, etc. She was very upset they made her throw away some of her skincare that was over 3 ounces. Thursday night's event was a country western theme, and while a majority of people there were business casual, the intern showed up in a bandana tube top, micro skirt, cowboy boots, and a cowboy hat. I pulled her aside and asked if she wanted to run upstairs and change since it was still a business event, but she said she was fine and thought she looked cute and on theme. After the ceremony, I invited them to join me with some colleagues I knew from other companies in the hotel bar, but they told me they wanted to check out Broadway. I made a face and said this would be a good networking opportunity. They made "come on mom" jokes, so I told them to be safe and reminded them of the time and location of the first session the next day. I texted them around 11 p.m. that I hoped they got back safe. No response. Went to bed. Texted them the next morning offering to meet for coffee before the morning sessions. No response. No idea if they actually attended any sessions or saw my panel, but I did find them in the hotel lobby afterward looking incredibly hungover. We had about 2 hours after the event ended before we needed to go to the airport, so I invited them to a late lunch with our agency partners. They declined because they wanted to go to the Country Music Hall of Fame. Again, I made a face and said I didn't know if they'd have time and thought it would be a good opportunity for them to spend time with our agency. They acted like I was the wet blanket, so I told them I was leaving for the airport from the hotel at 4 p.m. sharp and to meet me in the lobby so we could share a lift. I texted them at 3:45 p.m. that the lift was arriving in 15 minutes. No response. Texted them that the lift had arrived and I was leaving for the airport. No response. Texted them when I got to the airport and told them the security line was long, neither had pre-check. No response. Texted them when I got to the gate to please give me some sign of life.
The intern sent a very short response about 10 minutes later. In lift, there's traffic. Nothing else. Texted them that the flight was starting to board. No response. Texted them when I was in my seat that boarding was about to end. No response. Doors closed. They didn't make it. I put my phone in airplane mode. Landed a couple of hours later to a barrage of texts from them. They were stranded in Nashville. Didn't know what to do, how to rebook, who to call for help, etc. I also had an angry voicemail from the specialist's mom saying I abandoned her daughter in Nashville, that she had never flown before and had anxiety, that she was having a panic attack at the airport and needed medical attention, and that she could be human trafficked. I called the specialist and intern back. Both phones rang but neither picked up. Texted to see if they were able to rebook. No response. Forwarded them an email with our business travel info and after-hours contact and texted them that I sent the email. No response. Texted an hour or so later to see if they were okay. No response. Did not call the mom back. I also had a text from their director. Don't know her well, just started with the company a couple of weeks ago, asking what was going on. I sent her a brief overview and screenshots of all my unanswered texts to them from earlier in the day, along with a transcript of the voicemail I got from the mom. She acknowledged my response, but there was no further dialogue. Now I get an invite for a Monday morning meeting from that director with their VP and our C-suite leader. My VP is on PTO. I feel like these are adults. I was communicative, and I'm ultimately not responsible for their decisions. But you tell me, am I the a-hole here? Now for the top comments before reading the updates. They seem to have mistaken a business trip for a vacation. Also, they acted irresponsibly regarding time, dressing, and networking opportunities. None of this is your fault. You are not their mother. You treated them like the adults they are. The fact that they didn't act like adults is not on you, not the a-hole. After their behavior on this trip, I'll be surprised if they ever get a chance to go on another company-funded trip, let alone still have a job. And it's not like OP didn't do her duty in that she tried to communicate their obligations. But if she's being ignored at every turn, I can see where the company would see sending them anywhere else as a waste of company resources. Did they do anything work-related? I'd sack them. When we arrived on Thursday, they did attend the opening keynote speaker and a couple of breakout sessions. It just started to go downhill at the award ceremony reception. I think that OP went incredibly above and beyond here, considering that it was a work event she was receiving an award at, so to have these junior idiots causing any type of fuss was really an unnecessary hassle for her, when it should have been a personal celebration. Okay, thank you so much for saying this, because I took it out of my main post since it was so long already, but I made a short acceptance speech after getting the award. I worked really hard on it and practiced a lot. It was only about 90 seconds, but I asked the specialist and intern to film it for me because I wanted to share it with my team members who helped me with it. I left my phone with them and everything, but they forgot, and that kind of upset me. It's obviously not the end of the world, but like, come on. So they even failed at the only job you gave them with explicit instructions: film my speech, official speech at official event. Definitely worth including in your bullet points. Now for the first update. Here's my update after my meeting this morning. If there is a better place or way to post it that won't get me in Reddit jail, let me know. Meeting over. Chief Marketing Officer didn't join. It was the other VP and director, plus the internship coordinator who is in HR. The VP asked all the questions. It was over Teams, on camera, recorded, and almost comically formal, like I was being deposed or something. During the meeting, I was asked to recap what happened, starting from when we arrived. I was prepared and had all my key points. I kept it factual about my actions, with no speculation on their actions. I shared my phone screen live, went through the text messages with timestamps, and played the voicemail from the specialist's mom. I was asked if I had requested or encouraged the specialist to put any expenses on her purchasing card. This question took me by surprise. I said I didn't even ask or consider that she had a P card. And besides the lift from the airport to the hotel, which I scheduled and paid for, I was never outside the hotel or official conference activities with either the specialist or intern. That would have required any sort of payment. I did say I would consider it to be her line manager's responsibility to make sure she understood our travel and expense policies prior to traveling. I was asked if at any point I had reached out to anyone at the office about anything that was transpiring. I said no, I certainly intended to when I returned, but we are talking about everything that happened within a roughly 32-hour window, all while I was trying to focus on what I was sent there to do: participate as a panel member at the conference, attend other presentations, take advantage of face-to-face time with our agency, and accept my award. I said I felt it was reasonable to believe any other attendees would have expectations for participation and outcomes set by their leadership team, especially when coming from another department where I wouldn't be knowledgeable about their goals and objectives. Similarly, if there were different expectations of me based on other company attendees, I would expect that to be clearly communicated in advance. I was not asked if I thought the intern and/or specialist should receive any sort of reprimand, and I didn't feel comfortable trying to interject something like that based on the flow of conversation. I'm under the impression that they're meeting with the specialist and intern separately, but my meeting was first. After the meeting, I debriefed with a trusted colleague who shared the following from Friday water cooler chats. I definitely offended the intern by pulling her aside about her outfit. She posted it to Snapchat with a caption about it, and some other interns and employees saw it. I'm dying to know what exactly it said, but my coworker said everyone who did see it agreed it was inappropriate for a work event. Allegedly, the specialist's mom had once called the previous director, who left, and the director in the meeting today replaced him, about the specialist's working hours. It is known that several months ago, the specialist was pulled off a high-profile project team. Apparently, when she was asked to put in some evening and weekend hours to meet a deadline, her mom called the director and complained. I don't know if I believe this to be true, but the mom stepping in could be a pattern. What I'm hoping helps validate my testimony is that separately on Friday, one of my agency partners I was with emailed my CMO about a conversation we had after the ceremony on Thursday evening with some ideas he had. Typical agency salesy stuff, but he also unknowingly corroborated my alibi on Thursday night. So, that's where we're at. Last night, I had convinced myself this all would result in me receiving a big apology or acknowledgement of wrongdoing, and that I shouldn't have had to deal with this, etc. But I didn't, which makes me feel this is still a bit unresolved. I did send all my notes to my VP on Sunday, but his PTO is medical related and I know he's not able to really check in, so I'm just keeping my head down until I hear anything else. Second update. This will be my final update. It's probably not going to be as juicy as you want it to be, but hopefully it provides some level of closure to this whole thing. This post will still be long because I generally have a problem with brevity, and I have big feelings about this whole experience. Here are the things I want to say. I bolded the topics so you can choose what interests you. Was I actually doxxed? Yes. While I received many incorrect guesses at my true identity, there were a couple that were correct. And holy crap, is that scary. I don't know what compels a person to go to such lengths to try and figure out who a random internet poster is, but maybe don't spend your time doing that. Unless it's someone threatening to a school or bomb a concert venue, of course, take those despicable monsters all the way down. But I'm just an elder millennial trying to navigate imposter syndrome in corporate America, pay my bills, and generally be a good person. So one day I can hopefully retire and rescue a borderline, concerning number of geriatric Pomeranians. Very unworthy of your CIA caliber sleuthing. Please, make friendship bracelets or try diamond painting as a relaxing hobby instead. Or join the actual CIA and take down would-be school shooters and concert venue bombers. Has anyone from my job seen my post? Yes, in some form. More than one person, in fact. Perhaps naively, this was something I never even considered would happen. It's Reddit. It's anonymous, and everything is cycled through in about 24 hours, right? But as soon as the reaction videos started coming across my For You page, a People magazine, web article, and all the other ways, this thing took on a life of its own. Not gonna lie, had pretty severe panic about this. Like, wow, I handled the situation as best I could and came out relatively unscathed. But me seeking validation from internet strangers will be what takes me out in the end. So far, I have not been reprimanded over it, but I accept whatever comes of it. Not my most professional move to air out others, not most professional moves on the internet, and I will seek a healthier outlet in the future. Maybe I'll make friendship bracelets or try diamond painting. Will specialist and/or intern be fired? To my knowledge, they are both still employed, although today is the official last day for the entire summer intern cohort. I know how I would handle one of my team members if they did this, but I trust they would never, ever, ever, because they're sensible and smart and amazing, and probably reading this. But for these two, it's not up to me to decide. And while I take full accountability for bringing all gestures widely this on myself, I'm at a point where I would very much like to be excluded from this narrative within my actual place of work. In conclusion, for everyone who commented and sent such nice, supportive messages, thank you, sincerely. I did get some good advice, and I'm glad I could help you temporarily escape into someone else's work drama, provide HR training material for new employees on travel policies, or maybe validate that whatever you did on your first work trip that creeps into your brain when you're trying to fall asleep at night wasn't actually that bad. I took the rest of the week off, which may seem like an overreaction, but sometimes weird stuff impacts you in ways you aren't prepared for. I'm going to use the time to rest, do a bit of reflection, and look at pictures of geriatric Pomeranians. I think I'm roughly the same age as OP, and I have been really taken aback by the number of people I've worked with who totally lack basic business etiquette. Yes, some things come with time, but others are just common sense, like a business trip is work, and should be treated with a similar attitude. Sounds like OP did the best possible thing to cover her butt, her job. I am millennial too, was in my early 20s on my first business trip, and I was so afraid to do something wrong. I felt bad for going on a walk in the evening after every event was over, LOL. And on my second trip, I was too afraid to use my company credit card to purchase some beer, while every other person was drinking wine and cocktails at an after-hours event. On my third trip, the boss himself spent a good amount on booze, and encouraged us to do it too, so no policy against it. I guess to this day, I'm one of the most well-behaved, cheapest employees my company ever sends on trips. I can't wrap my head around people misbehaving on company time when you're your company's representative. Last story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to swap dorms just because my roommate's boyfriend doesn't like me? I share a dorm with another girl, 18 female, and at first, things were fine. We weren't close, but we got along, splitting chores, watching a movie now and then. Then her boyfriend started coming over. At first, it was once or twice a week, which I didn't mind, but it quickly became every single day. He's here when I wake up, when I get back from class, and sometimes still here when I'm going to bed. He doesn't pay rent, doesn't help with anything, and clearly doesn't like me. I think it's because I don't flirt with him like some other girls do. He's made comments right in front of me like, "She's so uptight," or "I bet you've never had a boyfriend." Last week, my roommate told me he feels uncomfortable around me and asked if I could switch dorms so they could have more privacy. I said no, I pay rent just like she does, and I'm not moving because her boyfriend doesn't like me. She accused me of ruining her relationship, and now some mutual friends say I should move because they're in love. Since then, they've been whispering and laughing when I'm around, and I'll come back to find my stuff moved so they can take over the couch or table. I've been avoiding the dorm, but it's not right that I feel pushed out of my own home. I don't think it's fair for me to leave when I haven't done anything wrong. Am I the a-hole? Too bad, so sad. If the roommate cares that much about boy toy's comfort, she can leave. Honestly, that's how I feel too. If she's that worried about his comfort, maybe she should be the one packing. I'm not giving up my space just to make her boyfriend feel more at home than I do. Please find and speak to your RA. They can help you practice having a civil conversation with your roommate to resolve it among yourselves. If it ends up escalating, Your RA already has an idea of what is going on to possibly mediate. Your roommate has the problem. If anyone is moving, she should move. But I'm guessing she thinks she will get a dorm room to herself. It won't happen. She will probably get a roommate like myself that barred my roommate's boyfriend from even coming to our room because he made me uncomfortable. Her boyfriend is firmly in the making you uncomfortable stage. Not the a-hole. You don't have to move. Screw them. And your roommate may be violating rules by having the boyfriend over all the time. Yep, I've actually started wondering if she's even allowed to have him over this much. It's gotten to the point where it feels like I have 2 roommates, and I never agreed to that. Not moving, they can deal. Talk to your RA or go higher up. He sounds like a creep.